Experience the performance of Lexus Racing, the thunderous V8 engine. The black and day-glow yellow Lexus RCF GT3, a blur of speed and adrenaline. The sheer force of acceleration. The physics-defying grip of the tires, the intensity of every corner, the precision of each maneuver. The sound of victory. Visit Lexus.com/motorsports to keep the thrill going.
Cut the commute and up the convenience for your next dermatologist visit. Non-segmental vitiligo patients 12 and older can virtually discuss repigmentation with Opzelura ruxolitinib cream as soon as today. Get started on your pursuit for repigmentation with topical Opzelura. Visit Opzelura.com to connect with a derm to see if Opzelura is right for you. Provider availability may vary. For patients taking therapeutic biologics, other JAK inhibitors, or strong immunosuppressants such as cyclosporin, Opzelura is not recommended.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections. Tell your doctor if you have or had an infection, TB, hepatitis B or C, blood clots in your legs or lungs, heart attack, stroke, cancer, high cholesterol, are a smoker, or pregnant. Opzelura may cause serious lung infections, certain cancers, immune system problems, blood clots, and low blood cell counts. Major cardiovascular events or death occurred in those 50 plus taking oral JAK inhibitors. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Call 866-564-8484 to learn more about prescription Opzelura for non-segmental vitiligo.
Let's see. I could go casual chic or dress for success.
With so many looks, picking out what to wear can be difficult. But with Walmart, picking out a fresh pair of glasses is easy.
Maybe it's an athleisure day.
That's because Walmart has top brands and styles for you to choose from. So it's easy to find the right frames for whatever you're feeling.
Here's my outfit of the day and the perfect pair of cat-eye frames to match.
New glasses to make your styles pop. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Hey parents, Greenlight is here to take one big thing off your to-do list, teaching your kids about money. With a Greenlight debit card and money app of their own, kids and teens learn to earn, save, and invest. You can send money instantly, set flexible controls, and get real-time notifications of your kids' money activity. Set up chores and put allowance on autopilot to reward them for their hard work. Then, learn about the world of money together. Get 1 month free when you sign up at greenlight.com/podcast.
Welcome to our paranormal afterlife. This is our paranormal afterlife. I'm your host, Simon Bown. At our paranormal afterlife, my mission is to explore evidence that we continue beyond physical death. These episodes encompass reincarnation, near-death experiences, spirit communication, deathbed visions, and other extraordinary phenomena. And there is an Our Paranormal Afterlife Facebook group, and if you'd like to join, you'd be very welcome. And you can enjoy the extended version of this episode ad-free, along with over 100 hours of extended episodes on Patreon. This week I'm talking to Elizabeth Boyson and Anne-Marie Taplin about the book Shining Light Parents Speak, Wisdom and Inspiration from Helping Parents Heal Leaders. Elizabeth has 4 children, 2 of whom are in spirit. Elizabeth is the affiliate leader of the Phoenix Scottsdale Group, a caring listener, and publishes the Helping Parents Heal monthly newsletter. Elizabeth is the compiling author of Life to Afterlife, Helping Parents Heal the book. She's also a certified yoga instructor and teaches healing yoga. Anne-Marie's elder son, Harry, transitioned in October 2020, aged just 19, in a motorcycle accident. She has been a member of Helping Parents Heal Australia New Zealand since January 2021. She has active communication with her son through abundant dreams and visitations, as well as the occasional sign, for which she is beyond grateful. Hi Elizabeth, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting us.
So we're going to talk about the book. It's called Shining Light Parents Speak, Wisdom and Inspiration from Helping Parents Heal Leaders. Could you tell us how this all started for you? How Helping Parents Heal begin?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes, it's kind of an exciting story for people who aren't aware of the fact that their kids are still right here. When my son transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet in 2009, I was very grateful to experience a shared death experience with him. And I had no idea what this was at the time, but I already had a child in spirit. My daughter, Chelsea, passed when she was 2 days old when we were in Montpellier in France. And at that time, I knew she wasn't gone. I knew that she was still here with us. And at the same time, I didn't really have the context or the tools that I needed to be able to find her. But when Morgan transitioned, it was it was extremely painful because of the fact that he was on an exchange program with 13 other students. He had gone to the base camp. He passed of altitude sickness, but what happened during that transition was amazing. His roommate was there with him, and his roommate had a cell phone. The director of the program called me and said that he'd like to give me his roommate's phone number, not knowing that the situation was so difficult. They were headed down the mountain to Lhasa to be able to get lower in altitude. And when he called, I immediately called Colin, who is Morgan's roommate in China, in Nanjing, where he was studying. And Colin told me, Miss Boisson, it doesn't look good. We're trying CPR on him, but he stopped breathing. So immediately when he said that, I told Colin to put the phone up to Morgan's ear. And I told him that we loved him, that we were proud of him, and not to be afraid. And at that moment, here in Cave Creek, Arizona, I got the biggest hug from Morgan, and I knew he wasn't gone. I felt so uplifted and so much love from Morgan that I knew that there was more. But I thought to myself at that moment that this must be something that's experienced by all parents when their children transition. And I didn't really understand it. But at the same time, I knew that the most important thing to me at that time was to reach out to other parents and find out about their own children's transitions and their own connection with their children on the other side.
And I noticed there you're saying transition. Is that a thing where you have a very conscious idea that you don't use words like died or passed or lost, and that it's because they are almost negative in a way, but transition isn't negative?
Well, I think that one of the things about helping parents heal that's different from other support groups is that we truly believe in a connection with our kids on the other side. And we also believe that they're not gone, they're not lost, they're not dead. In fact, we believe that they're more alive than we are, that they are living incredible lives right now, collaborating, working together to communicate with us. And so you're right. We don't say that he, for instance, died, because he didn't. We use the word past frequently as well. I think that transitioned is also beautiful because I know that he transitioned from this world to the other side very easily, as all people do when they transition. It's something that is exactly the same for every mode of exit point. And I think that a lot of times people focus on the way that their children or a loved one has transitioned, but it's only a way to get to the other side. So, and that's what we focus on in helping parents heal as well.
When this happened, did you contact other support groups? Because I've heard that there are some grief support groups that kind of put a ban on any kind of spiritual discussion. Did you find that?
That's so interesting. Yes, I I did try to attend meetings with other support groups. And actually, I started helping parents heal a week after he transitioned online because I was really wanting to meet other parents who had had the same thing happen. But I did go to other support meetings, and going to these meetings was very frustrating because I wanted to speak about the signs that I was getting from Morgan. And most of the support groups that I was able to attend wanted to focus on the way that their children transitioned, even 15 or 20 years after this had happened. And I was confused by that. But not only that, I wasn't allowed to speak about the signs that I was receiving from him. This was in 2009, so it's a little different now in our world. We do talk about these things much more easily, but at the time, it was kind of difficult because people weren't talking about these incredible signs that they were getting from their loved ones in spirit.
And it seems to me that talking about those things can be so beneficial and could help relieve grief and the unhappiness. Is that how you see it?
Definitely. And in fact, I think that the reason that we're different from other groups, the principal reason, the reason that's the most important is that we truly believe that it's possible to heal after the passing of a loved one. And I think that a lot of other groups don't believe this. They believe that it's something that you will suffer from for the rest of your life. And we believe that our kids want us to be happy, healthy, and whole the same way that they are. And they want us to go on and make them proud and make them feel like they have lived for a reason, that they have their lives have purpose because our lives have purpose.
So would you say that you were quite spiritual before he transitioned, or is this kind of new to you since then?
I was already, I think, spiritual, and that's a very good question. I had lived in India for 5 years when I was growing up. I practiced meditation back when it was called TM, Transcendental Meditation. I did lots of yoga. I started yoga when I was very young, and I'm now a yoga teacher. But I think that living in India really gave me a lot of perspective that I didn't have living in the States. But at the same time, I don't think that anyone is ever prepared for the transition of a child. I think that it's probably one of the most difficult things that we can live through. And I certainly don't want to trivialize it or make it sound like it's something that should be easy to get over. For me, it was a little different. And I think that the reason that I was able to have this shared death experience with Morgan was because of the fact that Chelsea was already on the other side. I've been told by mediums that she was the first person to meet Morgan when he transitioned. She grabbed his hand and led him to me. And I believe that I had already started my spiritual journey when she transitioned, and I just didn't even realize it at the time.
So could you give us an example of contacts that you've had from him?
Oh, of course, I would love to. In the very beginning, when he transitioned, about a week later, I was practicing yoga in a studio. And in fact, I was going to become a yoga teacher. And I didn't go back to the studio because obviously it was very difficult to do anything at the time. But a very well-known medium who is here in the Carefree Cave Creek area went to the studio looking for space to rent. She had just arrived from Florida. Her name is Suzanne Wilson, and she went into the studio and said that she'd like to rent a room. the owner of the studio, who is also a very good friend of mine, Angie, doesn't necessarily believe in the afterlife. And she said, well, how can you prove that you have abilities? And Suzanne asked for a picture to be able to read. It just so happened that I had just sent a holiday card with a picture of my 3 children on the front. So there were my 2 daughters and Morgan. And Suzanne started saying that she saw my son on a mountain, that he was on his back, that he was among a band of brothers, and his 2 roommates stayed in Lhasa for 5 days while my husband was getting a visa to go over to Tibet to be able to get Morgan, actually, to bring him back. But she also said that he was shouting from a mountaintop through a megaphone that he was fine, and we had a megaphone at his service from his cheerleading days at the University of Arizona, because of the fact that they gave it to us when he transitioned. So this megaphone image was very important to us. She also said that we were going to be receiving a rock from the place that he transitioned, and she drew it for Angie. And I wasn't here the whole time. I wasn't at the reading. She drew this picture of this rock, and it was split in 2. And about a month later, when his roommate Colin came back to the States, he's actually from San Francisco, but he came to stay with us for a short time beforehand. He brought us that exact rock that looks exactly like the picture that she drew. But more importantly, she kept saying that he wanted us to know that he was okay. And Angie called me that night and she said to me, I just had a very unusual interview with a medium that wants to rent space here. Can we have lunch tomorrow so that we can talk about it? And I said, oh my gosh, Angie, you've got to tell me about it right now. Can you just tell me what happened on the phone? And when she told me all of the validations that Suzanne gave, it made me feel so good about the fact that I had received that hug and that I understood what it was about. I also had just read, my mom sent me a book immediately after Morgan transitioned, which was Life After Life by Dr. Raymond Moody. And I read it in a day. And reading that really helped me as well. But there are so many other signs that Morgan has sent, and especially signs to friends of his or to his sister. And I'd love to tell you about those as well.
Experience the performance of Lexus Racing, the thunderous V8 engine. The black and day-glow yellow Lexus RCF GT3, a blur of speed and adrenaline. The sheer force of acceleration. The physics-defying grip of the tires, the intensity of every corner, the precision of each maneuver. The sound of victory. Visit Lexus.com/motorsports to keep the thrill going.
Cut the commute and up the convenience for your next dermatologist visit. Non-segmental vitiligo patients 12 and older can virtually discuss repigmentation with Opzelura ruxolitinib cream as soon as today. Get started on your pursuit for repigmentation with topical Opzelura. Visit Opzelura.com to connect with a derm to see if Opzelura is right for you. Provider availability may vary. For patients taking therapeutic biologics, other JAK inhibitors, or strong immunosuppressants such as cyclosporin, Opzelura is not recommended.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections. Tell your doctor if you have or had an infection, TB, hepatitis B or C, blood clots in your legs or lungs, heart attack, stroke, cancer, high cholesterol, are a smoker, or pregnant. Opzelura may cause serious lung infections, certain cancers, immune system problems, blood clots, and low blood cell counts. Major cardiovascular events or death occurred in those 50 plus taking oral JAK inhibitors. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Call 866-564-8484 to learn more about prescription Opzelura for non-segmental vitiligo.
Let's see. I could go casual chic or dress for success.
With so many looks, picking out what to wear can be difficult. But with Walmart, picking out a fresh pair of glasses is easy.
Maybe it's an athleisure day.
That's because Walmart has top brands and styles for you to choose from. So it's easy to find the right frames for whatever you're feeling.
Here's my outfit of the day and the perfect pair of cat eye frames to match.
New glasses to make your styles pop. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Hey parents, Greenlight is here to take one big thing off your to-do list, teaching your kids about money. With a Greenlight debit card and money app of their own, kids and teens learn to earn, save, and invest. You can send money instantly, set flexible controls, and get real-time notifications of your kids' money activity. Set up chores and put allowance on autopilot to reward them for their hard work. Then, learn about the world of money together. Get 1 month free when you sign up at greenlight.com/podcast.
My daughter was studying in Paris. She was actually studying her junior year abroad, and she had gone to a New Year's Eve party and had taken a medication for a migraine. She drank some champagne while she was there. She was with her cousin, who was French as well, and she started feeling very nauseous, and she went to find her cousin who was with her boyfriend, and she said, "I think I'm going to have to go home." It was on the other side of Paris. And Sophie, her cousin, told her, "Okay, we'll see you tomorrow." And Alix had a little tiny cocktail dress on, and she forgot to get her coat before she left. She forgot to get her purse. She went out to the curb, jumped into a taxi, realized after one light that she didn't know the person who was sitting on the seat beside her. So she jumped out of the taxi, looked up at the street sign, and realized that she had no idea of where she was. And all of a sudden it started snowing. She was in this black sleeveless cocktail dress, and the next memory that she has is being wakened by her roommates at 9 a.m. saying, "We got to catch a train. We're going to Portugal." And she was in her bed in Saint-Germain, which was on the other side of Paris. And she was in an apartment that was 7 floors up. She's 100% sure that Morgan carried her home and got her to bed. And her roommate said that she remembered hearing the door being kicked open at about 3 a.m. So she never told me about this until she was studying in London after that. And she said that it was just such an unusual thing to happen and so amazing that she couldn't talk to anybody about it. But she actually let me use it in the book that we wrote after. So I know it's okay to talk about it now, but that was an amazing experience. And I know that Morgan's watching over both of his sisters. But another experience, which is almost more amazing to me, because Dan is a friend of Morgan's, but he is not his sister. And he was the mascot of the University of Arizona team that Morgan was a cheerleader for. So he was a wildcat, and he dressed up as a wildcat. I'm sure that you don't have these things in England, in the UK, or in Australia, but he was one of Morgan's best friends. And he finished school, he finished college, and then he went on to become a firefighter. And the first job that they had was in a home where he and another firefighter were trying to get the car out of the garage. The other firefighter was sitting in the driver's seat, and Dan was going to push the car out of the garage. And right as he was about to push, the car was in neutral, he felt someone grab him from behind, pick him off his feet, and pull him backward. And at that moment, an air conditioning unit fell from above that would have killed him. The other firefighter in the car said to him, "Dude, what just happened, because it was so amazing to him to see him fly backward off of his feet. And Dan is 100% certain that it was Morgan. In fact, he named his first son after Morgan as well.
Well, that's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you do meditation. Do you find that when you're meditating, it can put your mind into a more open state, more open for communication, almost like when a medium does their thing and, they say they raise their vibrations?
I definitely do. In fact, I lead a practice in yoga frequently, which is called Yoga Nidra. And it is similar to being awake, but at the same time being relaxed as you are when you're sleeping. And you're able to connect with your loved ones through this practice. People have experienced amazing things when we do this Yoga Nidra. And when I taught at a yoga studio, I used to sometimes see the people that were on the mat, on their backs, above themselves. It was, if you close your eyes slightly, you're able to see that, especially since the lights were dim. And it's fascinating to me because I realize that there is so much possible through the power of the mind. We can do so much healing through this type of work. And I think that it's important for everyone to be able to take at least 30 minutes a day to be able to relax and go within and not be thinking about everything else that's going on during the day. And I probably don't sound as calm as I like to, just because we just finished a conference that had 1,100 parents in attendance here in Phoenix. We do it every 2 years. And I have so much follow-up that I need to do to be able to finish with the conference. But at the same time, it was an incredibly healing thing to have all of these parents together and to be able to have a space where all of us were able to speak about our children and not be worried about making anyone feel uncomfortable. And I think that that's another thing that's very important. I'm kind of jumping around when we're healing, is to be able to talk about our kids, which we can't. We can't talk about our kids with our friends because they're worried that we're going to be sad. We can't do it with our family normally because of the fact that they are worried about making us sad as well. But even if we do cry or we seem to be sad, one of the most healing things for us is to be able to talk about them and to know that they live on in the minds and hearts of all of those around us as well.
And you mentioned there about people worrying about how you feel if they talk to you about their children. And is there a thing where parents, when they lose their children, they might, after a certain amount of time, find themselves laughing or enjoying something, and then they feel guilty? It's almost like they're thinking, I can't be happy. I've lost my child.
I think that that's definitely an issue. And I also think that it's both an issue for the parent, and it's sad that they feel that way, because I think that our kids actually, I tell people that they high five each other every time that they see us smile. And so when we're in meetings, if we're laughing and we're smiling, I know that the kids are having a blast. But at the same time, I think that our friends and family, if they see us laughing and having a good time, sometimes wonder what's wrong with us. And so many people will tell us, oh my gosh, if that happened to me, I wouldn't get out of bed. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd probably not be able to go on. And I think that that's very detrimental to the person that they're saying it to, because what in the world are these parents supposed to do? They can't stay in bed, especially if they have other children, if they have other family members, but also just because of the fact that our kids don't want us to do that. I frequently use the image of fathers in a maternity ward going in and looking through the glass and seeing all of the kids in the maternity ward and saying to each other, that's my kid, that's my son, that's my daughter. Our kids are doing the same thing. They're looking at us and saying, that's my mom, that's my dad. And they are so proud of what we're accomplishing in their names here. But not necessarily, people don't have to be accomplishing anything. Just being able to do things in their name and be enjoying life. They love to see that.
So you have a group called Caring Listeners. Can you tell us what that's about?
Of course. These are such excellent questions, Simon.
Oh, great.
Caring Listeners are a group of parents who have gone down the healing path a little bit farther than other parents, and they reach a hand back to help others forward. And I believe that healing is so much easier when we're helping others. And I know that a lot of our parents, when they become affiliate leaders, so the leaders of groups around the world, like Anne-Marie Paplin, but also our caring listeners, are not necessarily completely healed when they become leaders or volunteers, but being able to help others helps them to move forward and heal. And our caring listeners don't have any special training, although some of them do, most of them don't. The only thing that they do share is this experience with having their children transition. And they are what we call hearts with ears. They basically are there to listen and to be able to share their own experiences on this healing journey. But I think that is something that helps parents enormously, is to be able to talk to the caring listeners.
Do you find that parents sometimes come to you and they're kind of like, I haven't told anybody this, but I think I'm having contact. And it's almost like they're saying, I can't tell anybody in my family, my friends, because they don't believe in all that stuff.
I think that's definitely true. And that's one of the reasons that it's so wonderful to have a group where you can go and talk about these signs that you're getting from your children. And basically, the meetings that our affiliate leaders hold are not held to talk about the way that the children transitioned. They are held to be able to tell about these incredible signs and connections that we're getting from our kids on the other side. And it's always exciting to sit and hear about these, or to do this by Zoom. And you're right. Unfortunately, it's often taboo in families to talk about this. In fact, my family is very open-minded, but I don't think that it's a place that I feel comfortable speaking about a lot of the signs that I receive. They sometimes are excited to hear about the signs, but at the same time, I think that it kind of makes them uncomfortable at times to hear about these things. So I realized very early that the people that we connect with the most on this journey are people who have lived through the same experiences. And again, no matter how a child transitions, we all feel the same about these signs and connections that we receive on the other side. And I'm sure that Anne-Marie is going to tell you about an incredible synchronicity that happened when the 4 moms started working on this book. It turns out that their children have so much in common. So I'm sure she'll tell you about that later.
You also have a book out that's called Life to Afterlife, Helping Parents Heal, the book. So can you tell us about that book?
I would love to. And thank you, Simon. It's a book that came about because of the fact that I have a friend, Craig McMahon, who was interested in helping parents heal. He's a filmmaker, and he was very interested in making a documentary about the parents because he's a shining light sibling, we call him. So I just have to preface that by saying that we all call ourselves shining light parents. We don't call ourselves bereaved parents. It's probably one of the saddest words in the dictionary. But he is a shining light sibling. So he has two siblings who transitioned. And he also has his two parents who transitioned about the same time as his siblings. So he wanted to make this film to show other parents and siblings that it was possible to heal after the transition of a parent or a sibling. And he came to some of our meetings, and he asked me if it would be possible to have names of shining light parents to interview. So I gave him a list of different parents, and he interviewed all of them. And the interviews became a documentary that was available. It's still available on Amazon Prime, but I think it costs something now. It's also available on YouTube, which is Life to Afterlife. And it's Mom, Can You Hear Me? So he did this as the first in a series of, I believe, 4 different documentaries that he was doing. And it had so much success that I thought that it would be, actually, I was speaking with someone else in an interview, and the person that I was speaking to said that Morgan was telling him that we had to write a book. And this was right before our second conference. And I was thinking that we had way too much to do to be able to write a book. But the book, when I got off the interview, I immediately contacted all of the parents, and each of them wrote a chapter. So there are 20 chapters in the book about different children and their transitions, but more importantly, the healing path of their parents. And it took a month and a half to put the book together. So it was obvious that this was something that was meant to be. And we do have this book, which is called Life to Afterlife, Helping Parents Heal, the book, which is based on Craig McMahon's documentary. And thank you for asking.
Fantastic. Well, it's been great talking to you, and it's so amazing what you're doing with helping parents heal.
Well, thank you so much for inviting both of us. I've had a wonderful time, and you are truly a huge bright light, Simon. I appreciate everything that you do.
Oh, thanks a lot. Hello, this is me, Simon. Did you know that during a past life regression you can meet with your spirit guide? I conduct past life regression sessions over Zoom, and I've guided many clients to a spiritual encounter with their guide. If you would like to ask me how a session would work for you, you can book a free 20-minute consultation on my website, pastliveshypnosis.co.uk. The link is in the show notes. Hi, Anne-Marie. Thanks a lot for coming here in this podcast episode.
Thank you so much, Simon.
So you're the co-affiliate lead in Australia, New Zealand for Helping Parents Heal. And you're also the lead for the book that we were talking about, which is Shining Light Parents Speak, Wisdom and Inspiration from Helping Parents Heal Leaders. So how did it come to be that you're involved in this?
Well, a couple of different questions there, I guess. Maybe if I answer the first one about the book. So the book came to be in a really interesting way, and I've actually just watched Dr. Mark Pitstick, who is who originally had the idea and the inspiration for the book. I've just watched him talking about it visually, whereas because I'm in Australia and Mark is in the US, we've never met face to face, but it was just so interesting hearing him recount that experience. So I'll just do that quickly. If people would like to watch it, I can probably give you a link after the show to the YouTube of that interview. But so essentially, Elizabeth, the president of Helping Parents Heal, I think it was her who decided that it would be really healing and uplifting and interesting to interview the affiliate leaders worldwide. So for the YouTube channel for Helping Parents Heal. So she arranged that, and they'd started doing, they'd only done 2 groups of about 5 parents in each session. And there was a really interesting, I guess you could call it perhaps a psychic occurrence during the recording where Mark had a very shocking and, a very unexpected sign where he had a message from one of the kids, and he's, as far as I know, he's not a medium, but he had a message from one of the kids, "You've got to write a book about this." And he was so struck that it really did sort of, it was very surprising in the interview to everybody, and he replayed that in the video that I watched tonight of the recording on YouTube. So it was good to see his reaction in real time as that was happening, and then his story as he recounted that. So the book had its genesis in those interviews that Mark was conducting for Helping Parents Heal. And he slept on it that night, and he was determined to bring the idea to fruition. So if I'm remembering correctly, I think because Mark and I had a bit of communication because of my role as an affiliate leader in Australia, and he knew I was a writer and editor in my profession. And I think he emailed me and asked me if I'd like to be involved. And then from there, very quickly, he called for help, and 3 other mothers from Helping Parents Heal stepped up. So we essentially became the book crew. I was the project leader and lead editor. And because I'd had experience in working in literary projects of various sizes, I sort of put together a framework for how we could work together and watch out for things like version control, and just that process side of things, but then also how we would deal with this mammoth quantity of interviews, which at that point there were only 3 interviews in, but they were forecasted to be doing them for 7 months. 130 parents overall. So we knew there were going to be a lot of words, and the transcription side was certainly a hurdle. But then also, what do we do with all this content? So as the book crew, we made those decisions around essentially transcribing everything into a sort of plain language, easy to read format, and then we decided we would look for what we'd call the gold. And the gold for us was the sort of key takeaways or the really impactful moments in the book in the interviews, where a parent was saying something that resonated deeply with us, and we knew it would be helpful to other parents as well. So that was sort of how it came about. And Elizabeth just referred to a synchronicity. In our first Zoom conversation, this is myself and the other 3 mothers, we were just getting to know each other a bit, and we suddenly realised, either at the time or not long afterwards, that essentially it's one of those what are the odds moments. So we realised that we were all complete strangers. We'd all volunteered to be part of this project, and all of us had children, young men under 25, in spirit who had transitioned in single vehicle motor accidents. So for us, that was really shocking. And I still come back to that today. You know, what are the odds? Certainly in helping parents heal itself, road trauma is not a major cause of death. And I just feel that that is evidence that our kids are definitely helping us from the other side. And as I was saying to you before, offline, while we were recording, I had a sign from Harry, and as I was preparing, getting my thoughts into the right place and going through the book and looking for quotes and preparing some of my own stories, I had one of the most common signs from Harry, which was, I call it a cracking sound, but it's essentially a banging sound in the wardrobe in the room where I work, which was Harry's bedroom. So I have noticed this sound ever since he passed to spirit, which is coming up for 4 years in October. And I certainly had never heard it before, and it's not explainable in any logical way, and it doesn't happen in any known circumstances where I can predict. So it's not an atmospheric thing. It seems to be completely random. And when I was just working on this topic today, I heard it. Hadn't heard it for a while, so maybe a couple of months. So I heard this loud, big banging sound coming from the wardrobe. And then when you were talking to Elizabeth, I had exactly the same thing. So whenever I hear it now, I just smile and I always say thank you, always, for every sign.
Do you get the impression from everybody you've talked to that the children, where they are now, that they grow up, they don't remain as a child forever?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I would say, based on my experience with, in this field, which is very informed by your podcast and by all the books I've read because of your podcast and other books as well. So if you put all of that into the melting pot of my brain, I would say that I understand it to be that children do grow up. If we look, for example, at Sonia Rinaldi's work, and I can tell you a very brief story later of finding Harry in Sonia Rinaldi's images. But if we look at Sonia Rinaldi's trans images, she has that sort of visual evidence of children changing over time in our dimension. And in my own experience, I've certainly noticed in the dreams and visitations that I have from Harry, which are, like, I feel incredibly fortunate that they are so frequent. By now, I'm probably in the hundreds of dreams. And I can talk about the difference between dreams and visitations as well in terms of forms of contact. But just that tangible change in the way I'm seeing Harry in those experiences. I myself have seen him age by, it's not like going from 20 to 50. I mean, he still would not be 23 quite yet in spirit. And he transitioned at 19, but I've seen a change in him. And I think particularly parents of children who pass at a younger age, so pre-adolescence, it can be really hard for them to imagine what their child is like because so many physical changes occur during adolescence. And, I think it's comforting to think that they grow up, surrounded by love and family in a different sense. But I don't think they necessarily keep growing up to become old. I'm not sure about that, but I do feel that there's probably like an optimal age
Experience the performance of Lexus Racing, the thunderous V8 engine. The black and day-glow yellow Lexus RCF GT3, a blur of speed and adrenaline. The sheer force of acceleration. The physics-defying grip of the tires, the intensity of every corner, the precision of each maneuver. The sound of victory. Visit Lexus.com/motorsports to keep the thrill going.
Cut the commute and up the convenience for your next dermatologist visit. Non-segmental vitiligo patients 12 and older can virtually discuss repigmentation with Opzelura ruxolitinib cream as soon as today. Get started on your pursuit for repigmentation with topical Opzelura. Visit Opzelura.com to connect with a derm to see if Opzelura is right for you. Provider availability may vary. For patients taking therapeutic biologics, other JAK inhibitors, or strong immunosuppressants such as cyclosporin, Opzelura is not recommended.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections. Tell your doctor if you have or had an infection, TB, hepatitis B or C, blood clots in your legs or lungs, heart attack, stroke, cancer, high cholesterol, are a smoker, or pregnant. Opzelura may cause serious lung infections, certain cancers, immune system problems, blood clots, and low blood cell counts. Major cardiovascular events or death occurred in those 50 plus taking oral JAK inhibitors. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Call 866-564-8484 to learn more about prescription Opzelura for non-segmental vitiligo.
Let's see. I could go casual chic or dress for success.
With so many looks, picking out what to wear can be difficult. But with Walmart, picking out a fresh pair of glasses is easy.
Maybe it's an athleisure day.
That's because Walmart has top brands and styles for you to choose from. So it's easy to find the right frames for whatever you're feeling.
Here's my outfit of the day and the perfect pair of cat-eye frames to match.
New glasses to make your styles pop. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Hey parents, Greenlight is here to take one big thing off your to-do list, teaching your kids about money. With a Greenlight debit card and money app of their own, kids and teens learn to earn, save, and invest. You can send money instantly, set flexible controls, and get real-time notifications of your kids' money activity. Set up chores and put allowance on autopilot to reward them for their hard work. Then learn about the world of money together. Get 1 month free when you sign up at greenlight.com/podcast.
That we might want to either represent ourselves or, that sort of idea of the body as an expression of one life. So it gets really complicated when you think about reincarnation and about ethereal bodies versus physical bodies. So probably that's as far as I'd like to take it, because otherwise I'll get into a big mess in my head.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You hear different things from different places and you have to try and put these puzzle pieces together, but sometimes there's little contradictions there and you're not quite sure what to make of it. That's what I find.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have examples of this sort of event where people will wake up at night and the person will be standing at the foot of their bed and they might say, "I've just come to tell you I'm okay," and then they find out later that person has died?
Probably my experience is more personal, and particularly because I mostly talk about this topic with parents who've had children transition. So that notion of foot of the bed contact, I've never encountered in my life, and certainly not with anyone that I've spoken to. That's not to say that I don't think it happens, but it's not one of the more common forms of communication between children and their parents who are earthside. It's interesting, when we were thinking about how to structure the book, we wanted to have, I guess, a logical and an impactful way of ordering the content so that it made the most sense, but also, given that a really strong intention behind the book is that it is healing for parents in similar positions, we wanted it to have a very strong focus on lived experience and on, to some extent, advice from parents who, I like the way Elizabeth said, who've walked ahead. So those of us who might be a little bit further along, giving advice to parents who are new to this, or who in some cases are new to thinking about the concept of their children living on. So they may be, their child may have transitioned a long time ago, and yet for years they've either shut down that thinking, they haven't been able to express or find out more information, or for whatever reason they haven't thought about their children being in another dimension, otherwise known as the afterlife. So if I can just circle back to your question in terms of probably the way that is most common from certainly my experience of reading these 130 stories, but also all the parents that I do know as well through both Helping Parents Heal and my TikTok channel, which is sort of focused on hope after losing a child. So one of the things that we did is we actually figured out how we would structure the accounts of signs that parents have received. So it might be helpful if I just list what they are, because having seen 130 or seen/heard 130 accounts, it was pretty clear that there were common themes here. So the natural world is one. So, and that's that notion that somehow animals can be influenced by those in other dimensions to create meaningful contact with us. So it doesn't mean that the child, for example, becomes that animal. It's more that the natural world can be manipulated in that way. So electronics and light, so that's obviously another form of manipulation and energy. Dreams, as we've said, and I would love to just elaborate more on the difference between dreams and visitations, and another word which I like, which is encounters. Songs and the radio, that's a really common one as well. Feeling, seeing and hearing, so that's much more experiential and individual. Telepathic communication, and that can also include automatic writing. Messages and connections through other people, most commonly mediums, and then other creative ways. So I think one of the things that's often said in Helping Parents Heal is that our children are always surprising us, like in terms of their capacity, their abilities. Yes, I'm sure it varies. We all have, varying talents here on earth, and I think it's the same when they transition. But some kids have incredible abilities. Just myself now, when I was reading through the book, I'm always, slightly envious, but mostly astounded when I read about parents who've experienced kinetic energy changes. So, children who can move objects, with multiple witnesses, that always astounds me. But yeah, I myself, I've certainly had perhaps not the entire range of signs. I think all of us, our kids have particular, more common ways of contacting us. And I'm not sure if that's because we miss a lot of signs. I think that's really common, especially parents who say that they don't get signs from their children in spirit. Often that is because they either miss them or they're very deep in grief. And that notion of our energy levels, I know it does sound a bit woo-woo to talk about how high or low our vibrations are, but if we look at that as pure energy, and there's sort of dense and difficult energy that surrounds people who are angry or depressed or in heavy grief, I do believe that is a barrier for our loved ones in spirit.
Do you have a couple of really great examples of contact you could give us?
Yeah, I do. Probably I'd preface that by saying that in hindsight, before I lost Harry, and I probably should just say very quickly, because I don't think I have, that Harry had just turned 19 when he had a fatal motorbike accident here in my part of South Australia. And Harry was I guess you could say he was a child I never expected to have. So when he was little, I did talk about because I wrote a book called Being Mummy, which was about motherhood essentially, and the realities and the surprises and the incredible joys of motherhood, but in a very down to earth way. And when I was doing media for that book, I did actually tell the truth a couple of times about what, I'm surprised no one picked me up on it and cast aspersions as to my sanity. But essentially my reason for having children changed overnight when I had a dream. I was in my early 30s and I had a dream about breastfeeding a baby in bed. And on the head of a pin, I changed my life to make that happen. I was going to have a baby. And I do believe now that that was Harry in spirit. I have come to believe in the notion of soul contracts, and I believe that we had a soul contract, that he was going to be born to me. Obviously, we have free will. In my earthly body, I decided I wasn't having children. He gave me that nudge, which is often how it works, with a nudge, and my life absolutely changed. So I do believe that that was the first communication between Harry and I. And then I did go on to have a premonition as well that he was going to be a boy, and I had a second premonition for my second son. And the circumstances did actually pan out to be exactly as they were in the premonition as well.
We've been talking about the book that's Shining Light, Parents Speak, Wisdom and Inspiration from Helping Parents Heal Leaders. And people can get that on Amazon, can't they? And other places?
Yes, Amazon is it. Anywhere in the world, people can put in the book's title and it will come up and they can have it shipped to them.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Simon. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so this week I was talking to Elizabeth Boyson and Anne-Marie Taplin about the book Shining Light, Parents Speak, Wisdom and Inspiration from Helping Parents Heal Leaders. And if you want to hear the rest of this amazing interview, you can sign up to Patreon. When you sign up for $6 a month, you get an extended episode every week. For $3 a month, you get an extended episode every month. The Patreon episodes are ad-free and are released 2 days before the free versions. And please check out my other podcast. It's called the Alien UFO Podcast, and I release new episodes every Monday, and you can find it on almost every podcast app. I also have a tier on the Our Paranormal Afterlife Patreon campaign, where for $13.50 a month, you can get the Alien UFO Podcast extended episodes every week, as well as the Our Paranormal Afterlife extended episodes. And including the Alien UFO Podcast, there are now well more than 100 extended episodes available in the back catalogue. You can become a patron by going to patreon.com/Our Paranormal Afterlife, or click on the Patreon button on my homepage at pastliveshypnosis.co.uk. The links are in the show notes. And there is an Our Paranormal Afterlife Facebook group, and if you'd like to join, you'd be very welcome. And if you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review, and be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or via your favourite podcast app to make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes. And thanks for listening.
Experience the performance of Lexus Racing, the thunderous V8 engine. The black and day-glow yellow Lexus RCF GT3, a blur of speed and adrenaline. The sheer force of acceleration. The physics-defying grip of the tires, the intensity of every corner, the precision of each maneuver. The sound of victory. Visit Lexus.com/motorsports to keep the thrill going.
Cut the commute and up the convenience for your next dermatologist visit. Non-segmental vitiligo patients 12 and older can virtually discuss repigmentation with Opzelura ruxolitinib cream as soon as today. Get started on your pursuit for repigmentation with topical Opzelura. Visit Opzelura.com to connect with a derm to see if Opzelura is right for you. Provider availability may vary. For patients taking therapeutic biologics, other JAK inhibitors, or strong immunosuppressants such as cyclosporin, Opzelura is not recommended.
Opzelura can lower your ability to fight infections. Tell your doctor if you have or had an infection, TB, hepatitis B or C, blood clots in your legs or lungs, heart attack, stroke, cancer, high cholesterol, are a smoker, or pregnant. Opzelura may cause serious lung infections, certain cancers, immune system problems, blood clots, and low blood cell counts. Major cardiovascular events or death occurred in those 50 plus taking oral JAK inhibitors. The most common side effects were acne and itching where applied.
Call 866-564-8484 to learn more about prescription Opzelura for non-segmental vitiligo.
Let's see. I could go casual chic or dress for success.
With so many looks, picking out what to wear can be difficult. But with Walmart, picking out a fresh pair of glasses is easy.
Maybe it's an athleisure day.
That's because Walmart has top brands and styles for you to choose from. So it's easy to find the right frames for whatever you're feeling.
Here's my outfit of the day and the perfect pair of cat-eye frames to match.
New glasses to make your styles pop. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Hey parents, Greenlight is here to take one big thing off your to-do list, teaching your kids about money. With a Greenlight debit card and money app of their own, kids and teens learn to earn, save, and invest. You can send money instantly, set flexible controls, and get real-time notifications of your kids' money activity. Set up chores and put allowance on autopilot to reward them for their hard work. Then learn about the world of money together. Get 1 month free when you sign up at greenlight.com/podcast.